We come to you from High Point, North Carolina, where Carolina Core and Atlanta United 2 meet for the second time. 2 months into the season, the Core finally found a win against the top team in the East. Atlanta, on the other end, are the reigning team of the week after back-to-back shutout wins. MLS Next Pro Match Week 9 is at Truist Point. Hello and welcome. I'm Ryan Lee. Thank you for joining us. Another season for Carolina, and it's another rocky start. Still yet to find a regulation win, but a road game against Crown Legacy not only secured Carolina's first win in any fashion this season, but doing so against the number 1 seed in the East. They're still searching for that first win in regulation. Atlanta, on the other hand, have one of the best starts in several years. 4-2-1 in the opening 7 matches is good enough for top 5 in the Eastern Conference. Fresh off back-to-back shutout wins, they can continue to escalate through the table. But they'll have to pair up against a Carolina Core side that are making 2 changes from their first win of the year against Crown Legacy. They'll stick with the 4-3-3 that Donovan Ricketts has held on to in that opening win versus Crown Legacy. The only change up front is Diaz up front in the left wing alongside Tatovan and Rambolt. You also have Montenegro sliding into the center midfield slot once again. He has started 7 of 8 this year. The back 5 remains unchanged. Holiday is back in goal. He started the last 5 for Carolina and has forced at least a point in 4 of those last 5. Changing things over to Atlanta on the other end and what Jose Silva is doing with his squad. Remaining with a 4-2-3-1, a 5 midfielder set that has been part of the prowess of this Atlanta team. Kovac has goals in back-to-back, as does Cameron Dunbar, for a front 6 that remains intact. The lone change is in the right back slot. Daniel Chica served his red card suspension against Chicago Fire. Back to today, he has started 7 of his 7 appearances on the year, and Jonathan Ransom is back in goal for back-to-back matches, coming off of a clean sheet win against Cincinnati, putting him 500 in this early portion of the season. The second of 3 matches between Carolina Core and Atlanta United 2, already having played to open up the season back in March. That was Atlanta's second game of the year, but Carolina's first due to a postponed game that was supposed to be their opener. Atlanta came into Turner Soccer Complex looking for maybe a chance to spring something to open up the season, but Atlanta, they held on strong. Even though they had a lot of opportunity to get stuff done because of the flurry of first-teamers that came in that Week 2 match, that didn't stop Carolina from at the very least applying some pressure and trying to get their philosophies intact. But at the end of the day, Atlanta would take that game by a 2-1 final, where Carolina technically didn't even score in that game for that 1 goal. That 1 goal they scored was actually an Atlanta own goal. So that gave the Core their first goal of the season, but they have since found ways to at the very least try to put together the puzzle that has had missing pieces in bits. There's something that's not clicking. They really struggle. They only have that 1 win in the PKs, but have yet to find it in regulation. Something that Atlanta have already done 4 times in 7 games this year, which is good enough for the top 5. Atlanta will start off with the ball. They are in the red and black from right to left. In the light white green you have going left to right will be Carolina Core, as we are ready to go here at Truist Point. The opening kickoff here at Truist Point in High Point, North Carolina. Carolina Core looking for that first regulation win of the season after winning in the PKs to the number 1 team in the East, Crown Legacy. And for Atlanta, they want to continue climbing the table to a early 2 months of the season that has them in the top 5 of the East. Ryan Lee and our entire MLS Next Pro crew, we thank you for joining us for match week 9. Took a ricochet, looking for a chance inside the box, turning away, sliding down. Kovac can't get possession. Torres reaches. Chongqui keeps it. Gill loads up, blocked in front, and Rambolt loosens things in his own end. But heavy pressure from Atlanta gets it right back. Adrian Gill. There goes the first touch made by Daniel Chica, who called game in that March 8th matchup when these two played the first time around. It was his second professional goal, and not just doing so, but doing so against his former squad. He returns to Truist Point, where he spent 2 seasons here. Dunbar has men on him, couldn't get around the defender, and it's sent out. Wanting to go up the gut, but the pass missed Dunbar, and it will go for a goal kick. And just like that, Atlanta will return to possession. Line drive, Kovac chops it off. He's got Aiden Torres. Floats it around, Dovolo. Dovolo towards the area. Couldn't get past. He had Evers and Yepes in the box, centering and anchoring the defensive unit for Carolina. And they'll have quite a task considering some of the heaters that these guys have been on. Cameron Dunbar with goals in back-to-back. Arif Kovac as well. And Ignacio Suarez has 2 assists in that last game versus Chicago. So that front 5 has really found some magic for the Five Stripes in recent form, especially trying to turn around from the overall inability to make the playoffs from Atlanta, not having done so in Next Pro or the USL. Torres at the center circle. Rambolt pursues Cisse. And return to Jonathan Ransom, who's in goal for back-to-back games. A gorgeous day here at High Point. 59 degrees at the time of kickoff. 0% chance of precipitation. Only a mild breeze of 2, maybe 3 miles per hour. Nothing real significant. Carolina take over. Outside the box, gives it a try, and the angle is just wide. But it was a nice attempt for Carolina. You have David Diaz alongside Tatsevin and Rambolt. That time it was Diaz. He just couldn't get it within frame. Diaz, 22 years of age, formerly of Ventura County. He was there in 2024, was not part of the MLS ecosystem last year. Dovolo pressuring. Lays it back for Suarez, wiggles around, chips it to the center. Couldn't connect with Dunbar. Laid aside from Nelson Martinez as Carolina finished the clearance. Chongqui misplayed. Rambolt together with Tatovin sends in front. Tatovin sends in front across the goal line, and no one was there to tap it home. Arno Tatovin was on a heater, wanted another one. Lays it back. Zagers will allow Carolina to reset as they make their way back to center. Martinez down the line for Rambolt. The former Wisconsin Badger from France. Back and forth he goes with Alenga. Alenga, one of the OGs of this Carolina core team. One of the few who have been with the core throughout their entire, yet short, 3-year existence. You don't have very many of them left, including Daniel Chica, who went to greener pastures elsewhere. Zagers near sideline, gets it back, has some space. Clips it across. Diaz in pursuit. Chica stares him down. Diaz centers. Couldn't get to Tatovin. And eventually assisted on the clearance for Atlanta. Ignacio Suarez slammed down at center. We definitely have a whistle. Does not appear to be a yellow card. We are only 8 minutes in, so it's still kind of that kind of investigation phase of the game. We're just trying to feel out what the other team and maybe your respective matchups are going to do. Lottie Isaka, the head referee in blue today. Colin Ashley, Marcus Moss, and Kevin Broadley round out the crew. As Jonathan Ransom sends it all the way to the sideline where Chongqui was unable to recollect for Atlanta. Nicholas Holiday has started the last 5 straight for Carolina. 4 of them have at the very least scraped by a point, including the PK win last time against Crown Legacy. Suarez, wide open, Dovolo, Kovac in the area, wanted to center for Dunbar, but couldn't link up. Whistle blown because Carolina were offside. Atlanta just want to get things started once again. Some grappling from Diaz. Tatovin harassing, gets it free. 3-on-2 for Carolina. Slides it across. Montenegro! Great save by Ransom. Rambo at the follow-up. Sweeps it aside from Martinez. With Rambo. What an amazing save to start off the game in the opening 9 or so minutes for the captain, Jonathan Ransom. Jose Silva talking about the confidence that he can have in his unit because he knows that no matter who does get the reps and opportunity in goal, they're going to have a lot of faith in what they can do. Tatoval slid it across. Montenegro was all by himself. And you saw that Montenegro couldn't absorb it cleanly on the initial touch, and that allowed Ransom to get back in position to square up on Montenegro and deny the potential first goal of the game. The battle won by Kaiser, but it goes back to Atlanta. Nice little hustle back from Rambolt to win it back. Miscommunication. Goes right back to Atlanta. Torres up the gut. Chips it. Dunbar spin around. Try and scores. Doesn't matter. It's offside. But if Atlanta can produce something like that, that could be magical. Oh my. Even though this didn't count, it's very clearly offside. The tornado spin from Cameron Dunbar. Just the confidence and gumption to even attempt something like that. And had that stayed onside, that could have counted. But good discipline from Carolina, knowing that he was going to be offside. And Atlanta are in pursuit once again as they take the throw. Leading for Kovac. Waits for help. Might take the one-on-one. Kovac, wide angle. Couldn't deflect it for Dunbar. Chong Kui got an assist the last time these two played, but his try was blocked. Cisse steps up. Has help from Sananu and Chica. Over the head of Chong Kui, it goes back to the core. Carolina, one of two teams in the Eastern Conference yet to muster up a win in the opening 2 months of the season, at the very least in regulation. Both them and Inter Miami 2 are the two teams who have yet to find the first full set of 3 points. Tatavan slants it. Montenegro leads it, and a bit of a miscommunication with Diaz. That allows Chica to pick it up cleanly. A very vertical pursuit for Atlanta. Dunbar remains with it as Yepes tries to recover. Alenga hustles back. Suarez pokes it ahead. It'll go for a Nick Holiday goal kick. However, the one thing that Carolina and Miami can hang their hats on is they do both at the very least have that one win in their back pocket from the shootout. But when speaking to Donovan Ricketts in the midweek, he just had a lot to say about how a lot of their issues have been self-inflicted, how they've shot themselves in the foot more often than not, and has caused a lot of their misfortunes. Just trying to make sure they can continue that compete for the full 90 is something they've really lacked throughout the entire year. Even to the extent of the last time out versus Crown Legacy, where they actually had a lead in that game. And then Crown Legacy would find their way to tie things up. Dunbar swarmed, loosens up for Chong Kui. Chong Kui took a clip out of play. This will go for the first corner of the match. Cameron Dunbar, the one to serve, the opening corner of the match. Quarter hour in, still looking for the first goal. Here goes Dunbar. High service, way back. Sananu hustles to keep it in. And Sananu will take the intentional deflection for a throw-in. Go Forth Home Services is a proud signature partner of CCFC, founded in the Carolinas in 1959. Go Forth Home Services is our region's most trusted provider for your home services needs, including pest control, heating, cooling, plumbing, and smart technologies. Back in the middle of the area, goes well above the bar. You can see a lot of that aggressiveness from Atlanta's defense, especially if it hangs true throughout the entirety of the game. Jose Silva really talked about the 2 games versus Crown Legacy to tail off March. They had a 2-game homestand, both in Matthews, to end March and begin April on separate games, mind you. But when talking to Coach Silva, he talked about that was a big reality check. The defensive identity was not really as intact as he would have hoped. Especially how they weren't really intense enough when the first defender comes in. And part of that is possibly due to a bit of trust and confidence issues, knowing that if you do go and pressure up high, you have assistants coming in other places. You've kind of seen that in spurts throughout the year, how they like to press up high and get real up in their opponent's business. And that overall full 11 effort has been a whole piece, a real big one as to why Atlanta have had success so far this year, including back-to-back shutout wins in Miami and in Chicago. However, only 500 on the road because of those 2 back-to-back losses against Crown Legacy right beforehand, which they were the ones who got shut out. Aiden Torres had contact from Malenga. This is Atlanta's 5th straight game on the road. They actually opened on the road going to New England. Had a quick little 2-game home stint before having all sorts of travels in the last month. And all comes to a head here at Truist Point. Montenegro to center, Rambolt twirls. Attempt looking for Tatovin, not there. That's not a situation you want to see with the player down, with medical coming in. So we can take a quick look at how this came to be. You had Kovac and you had pretty much coincidental contact. So good to see Jair Kaiza back on his feet. 20 years of age from Ecuador. All of his pro experience came from the Ecuadorian second league, where he was with the Independiente Juniors, and makes his way for the first time in the U.S. with Carolina Core. That was also one of the things that Donovan Ricketts said has been really the learning point for a lot of the guys on his squad. He had a lot of guys who came in internationally, many of whom were in the NCAA as well. Just overall the freshness to MLS Next Pro and to just playing in the U.S. Just trying to get used to the league and the culture around it.
Get on your feet. It's time for the Us Foxes to unleash the Fox Way.
Rambolt couldn't keep it for the Core. Atlanta are back on. Cisse saw trouble, retreats towards Ransom. And Rambolt tripped up Cisse. Chica, deep ball. However, Suarez was unable to keep it in. We're about halfway through the opening half. Still no score between Carolina Core and Atlanta United 2. Match week 9 in MLS Next Pro. Between these two Eastern Conference opponents, Carolina Core still looking for the first win of the regular season in regulation, coming fresh off a win in PKs. And for Atlanta, just wanting to continue climbing the standings, starting off the first 2 months in the top 5 of the conference. They are only 1 point behind a two-way tie between Philly Union and Columbus Crew 2, who are occupying the 3-4 slots. And then you obviously have, as we mentioned, Red Bull New York back amongst the top of the East, and Crown Legacy leading the way. Leading the way for Carolina is Montenegro. Help arrives from Martinez. Centering feed, back post, too high. Second try, it's deflected wide. Diaz got the foot out but couldn't get it within frame. And Carolina have been lurking around Ransom's net. A little too high on Nelson Martinez's feed, but you could argue whether or not that was an intended feed for the deflection or whether or not Diaz maybe got in the way, but especially when you consider how strong Ransom has been in his net. Sometimes chaos is the best solution, like the turnover from Suarez frees up Dunbar. Centering feed, Suarez spins, couldn't get it for Kovac. Evers was able to recover. Cisse wins the jump ball. Back for Cisse with a lane towards Chongqui. Martinez stares him down. Legs are tangled, and it's a free kick for Atlanta. Tim Zagers and Chongqui up against each other. We have yet to see a set piece in this game. At the very least, a free kick of significance. Did have the corner earlier, which was on this near side. Dunbar gets ready to go on the two-man wall. Into the mix. Still available. Olenga, the only one to claim it. One to Tatavid. Diaz holds on. Olenga eats contact to free up Ramball, and that goes straight into the black jerseys. Atrium Health Wake Forest Baptist is proud to be the official healthcare provider of Carolina Core FC. Zagers diagonally too far from Rambolt. It's been a real turnaround for Atlanta United 2, and a lot of things that Jose Silva have cooked up within this organization. Already 10 wins across the first 20 matches for him ever since he took over as the interim at the end of July last year, after Steve Cook went to have other opportunities. Carolina from an angle. Rambolt couldn't connect. Martinez keeps it in play. Martinez caught by Ransom. It was the final 11 games of the year last year where Jose Silva led the way for the Five Stripes. 6-4-1 record in that stretch. Centering feed. Dunbar's alone. He scores! He got in front, but not too far. This was onside. Atlanta's up 1-0. They have really been able to free things up at Atlanta, as Suarez was able to get Dunbar all alone 1v1 on Holiday. Martinez could only stare as Dunbar had a step in front of him the entire way through. That is goals in 3 straight for Cameron Dunbar. Accounting for all 3 of his goals this year. And what a way to start things off here in Atlanta. You had that theatrical spin kick that was called offside, able to reconnect on the breakaway that does go through legally as Kovac continues to pressure. And Dunbar was able to finish it off for an Atlanta side that had been excellent when taking the lead. You had Dovolo and Kovac with the helpers. And this Atlanta United squad, they as a whole have all been on offensive heaters in the last 3 weeks. Torres was stretching, not enough to retrieve. Tatovin pleads for a foul and will win the case. One of 4 games in the next pro slate today after things got kicked off in LA last night with them and Earthquakes 2 opening up match week 9. Dunbar, the goal scorer, coughs it up. Martinez rolling for Alenga. Rambolt bangs it across, and Ransom getting in front of Tatovin. It seems like with Atlanta, they'll let anyone else attempt to beat them other than Arno Tatovin, formerly of UNC Greensboro. Where he and that Greensboro team did a lot of really great things in the SoCon. And he only spent a short time in the NCAA after spending about 7 years professionally within the youth leagues of France. You have a takedown outside of Carolina's penalty area. This will draw a corner for Atlanta, and Carolina already had an injury earlier. That one was from Kaiser. It's hard to see who this one is for. That's Nelson Martinez back on his feet. So this will be the second corner of the match. Cameron Dunbar to serve again. Smash back post, headed down, couldn't get there. Atlanta arguing for a penalty with a takedown just inside the area, but they keep it inside the attacking half. Sliding it by, Kovac in pursuit, but Yepes able to wall him off. There was that corner again, and what a read by Daniel Chica to get alone in space. No one was on him. He was all by himself. Holiday was just able to get down and get it off of the line and prevent Atlanta from doubling the lead, but Chica steals it again. And no one in black to retrieve. Tatovin scrapping with Sinanu. Sinanu, the former number 6 overall draft pick in 2025. Chongqui laterally and held on by Holiday. Carolina have just been a team that overall have not been able to really find their way. That PK win versus Crown Legacy last time out, that was their first win in 10 matches. November 21st last year. And that was a game in Chattanooga where they also went to penalties, and that's where they got that bonus point. But even longer that string goes when you include the wins or lack thereof in regulation. Just go about a week further back from that. September 13th of last year against Atlanta. And that extends the string of 12 consecutive without a regulation win. Only a couple from the PKs in the mix of it. Possibility starts at Skylar Credit Union. To see what your money can do at skylarcu.com. At the center stripe, Atlanta cannot advance. Instead, Carolina will try to open things up. Carolina can keep. Santiago Yepes continues to retreat back towards Nicholas Holiday. Looks like potentially part of the tactic to maybe open things up and just find an option if needed. Especially to an experienced keeper like Holiday who can maybe handle those types of situations. Has been in the pro ranks since 2021. His first 3 years were with North Carolina FC back when they were still a part of USL League One. And then spent the last few years with Crown Legacy of Next Pro, making his way with the Foxes this year. Dovolo overhead, Gill at center. Heaves it. Dovolo can't keep it. Adrian Gill actually played his very first MLS Next Pro match against this same Carolina core side when they first squared off on March 8th. Took him a little bit to get there for the 20-year-old who is in his first season with Atlanta. But a lot of the promise and overall opportunity for Adrian Gill finally kind of came to blossom against Chicago, where he scored his first goal in Next Pro. Chongqui still with it. Zagers dove on it. Chongqui couldn't get it past Holiday, and it forces another Atlanta corner. This is an excellent individual effort by Dominic Chongqui. He had Martinez and Zagers down. Zagers even tried to dive for it with his hand and then was able to find a left-footed strike. Bottom corner where Holiday had to make a save. And this sets up Dunbar again on this side. Our lead official, Ladi Isaka, having some conversations. Some chippiness with Cisse and Yepes. And we go again with Dunbar for the third time with the final 5 minutes of the half. Dunbar, back post, headed and scored! But a whistle against Atlanta. That is 2 disallowed goals for Atlanta. Once on an offside, once on a foul. Carolina looked to take advantage. But the referees are going to hold this one down because they weren't done. And the protest from Sananu will draw a yellow card. What a sequence of events. You have the individual effort by Chung Kui leading to a corner, which results in this goal, but because of the foul and then the subsequent taunting by seemingly Matt Sinanu, who got up in the face of, I believe that was Montenegro. It was the foul that whistled the play down, but it was the extracurriculars, the getting in the face, the less than sportsmanlike behavior that drew the yellow card against Sinanu. What a 2.5 minutes that was. Loose ball, miscommunication. Holiday had to think quick with 2 black jerseys in the way. And not just any 2 black jerseys. 2 of the 3 black jerseys, they're on the score sheet. Dovolo and Kovac were providing pressure on that right side. Kovac and Dovolo setting up Cameron Dunbar for the opening goal back in the 27th minute. And that was after he got called off for offside. Still 1-0, 2 disallowed goals into the middle. Chung Kui heads it away. Martinez can't get it through into the hands of Holiday. Tatovin from the Hail Mary ball, but behind the back of Rambolt. Suarez. That's an easy foul. That's a hold-on, 2-handed shove by Suarez. Already a high event match in week 9. 11 shots at this point, including 5 on target. 4 of them were Atlanta's. Montenegro forced the only shot on target for Carolina. Comes across and it's Ransom again. Just the overall confidence that Jose Silva has in between the pipes. Considering that he has another excellent option also if he wants it in James Donaldson, the young 17-year-old who was signed on to the academy a year ago, where he signed his next pro contract. They're just going to let Kovac through. The flag never went up. Everyone stopped playing, and now the flag finally goes up. Everything is disjointed in this game, including the officiating crew. They couldn't agree on whether or not that was offside, and that's a 3rd disallowed goal for Atlanta. Carolina looked to make the most of it as they possess well in Atlanta's end. Martinez wants the back post. Ransom has just been getting some practice drills in at this point.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 4th official on the sideline has indicated that there will be a minimum of 2 minutes of stoppage time added to the first half of the match.
So we have an extra 2 minutes in the opening half in what has been a very eventful game. Atlanta have already been offside 3 times so far in this game. And 2 of them resulted in disallowed goals. The third one, which easily could have held up had it not been for some aggression away from the ball. Gill slides it, Chung Kui back to center. Dunbar's alone, he scores! Dunbar doubles down with a misplay from the Carolina D, and Atlanta take a 2-0 lead just shy of halftime. Cameron Dunbar has been having himself quite a stretch. Yepes got a touch, but just let it go, and Dunbar, no one in the vicinity. 2 goals for Dunbar. That is 4 goals in 3 games. Accounting for all of his 4 goals in MLS Next Pro. A lot of experience for him from the USL Championship with his time in Orange County. And even though having started off his career on the Western world of the MLS ecosystem with Minnesota and LA Galaxy's organizations, he has really found a spectacular form. And keep in mind, Dunbar is doing all this at still 23. Alenga cut down, and this will give Carolina a chance to perhaps recoup their losses on a set piece on what you could consider borrowed time, as we're well over 2 minutes. That goes well high, and that will be it for the opening half. Atlanta with 2 goals that stood and 3 that came off the board. But that is where we stand at halftime. 2-0 favoring Atlanta in Carolina against the Core. Coming up at halftime, one of the best young stars in MLS traces his soccer roots after we come back from the break.
Should be a fun season of MLS Next Pro. Oh my! Pedrinho wins it!
Welcome back to High Point, North Carolina, where the Core trail Atlanta United 2-0. On Wednesday, Julian Hall scored the first goal in a wild match for Red Bull New York after helping Red Bull 2 win the MLS Cup Next Pro Cup Championship last year. We take a look back at his remarkable journey for one of the youngest rising stars in the league.
We have some birthdays in the building.
Julian Hall, remember the name. It's that man again, Julian Hall. Cross goal, it goes in. Mehmeti, has he broken through here? Mehmeti across, Hall! Swinging ball towards the back post, it goes! Opening goal for Red Bull New York, Julian Zakshevsky Hall!
Born in Manhattan, New York, Julian Hall found the game the same way a lot of kids in this city do.
I first kind of started playing soccer when I was around 4 years old. I would play a lot wherever I could, if it was a field near my apartment or wherever I could, basically. And I just remember, falling in love with the game and wanting to play as much as I can. There's a main place I would play. It's pretty popular in Manhattan. It's called Pier 40, and a lot of people go there. That's where I played with Manhattan Kickers. It's kind of where I really started to realize I really wanted to play soccer seriously and maybe make it professionally.
That love for the game turned into an opportunity, a move into one of the top academies in the country.
Julian came into our system at U14. I think he played about 3 or 4 games with the U14s. I was a U15 coach at the time, so I was observing those games, and you could see straight away he was a special talent. So he quickly got moved up an age group to play with the U15s that season. Made an instant impact with the older age groups.
The level changed quickly, and so did the expectations.
I was very excited to come in and show my ability, and I was playing with my age and I was playing a year up, and the intensity was a different level, I would say, from what I've ever played at that point in my life. So yeah, no, it's an amazing experience.
Chimueno scored off the bench against Seattle, and Julian Hall with the breakthrough! The Golden Boot leader rises to the occasion, and we've got an electric finish here in the U15 final.
He's one of those players that can get you up off your feet. Like, he's direct, he can take players on, he can score goals from inside the box, outside the box in really different ways. And, it would always amaze you at how he would find goals in the game.
The next step brought a new set of challenges.
That was the biggest jump for me, going from academy to professional football. The intensity, the physicality, the football, it was all quicker than anything I had experienced before. And, I just thought I did a good job of staying level-headed and not being discouraged about little things.
Working to the midfield, now Gonzalez entering the box, across and a goal! Julian Hall puts the Red Bulls 2 on the board.
I was lucky to be coached by Ibrahim Sakaya, and Bradley Wright Phillips was there a lot of the time as well. They did a good job of helping me progress and helping me not get discouraged and keep going every single day and working hard. The coaching staff really mended me very well.
Like, he's always striving to try and get better at something within games and training. And then, why he adapts well, he's a natural goal scorer.
For Julian, it was about staying level and keeping the work the same.
When you go to a professional environment, if you're doing the most amount of work and you're clearly working harder than everyone else, it stands out to a lot of people, and that can be something that separates you from everyone else. If you're a hard worker, that could get you to a lot of places, and I think that's just something that established me when I first came into the first team.
That work and mentality has paid off with the fast start this season.
We're really happy with the way that he's moving himself forward. He has taken the ideas and has really shown that he is picking things up. Obviously, there's the attacking part, his ability to find chances, his ability to take balls on the move, to dribble, to go by guys, run in the box. The part that goes with it is how much work he does for us against the wall, how much pressing, how much sprinting, how much chasing, how much work he does to really make the game difficult on the other team. And so we're really, really happy with the progress that he's made. We're going to continue to push him.
As he continues to grow, so does the chemistry with his teammates around him.
I've known Julian for a very long time now. I see the way he works in training. I'm getting to know him more and more, obviously, as we play together on and off the field. And then when I step onto the field, I know where he's going to be on the field, what his positioning is like, where he wants the ball, left foot, right foot. And we're kind of growing that connection, which has been going in a really good way, and hopefully, to grow that connection even more.
Mehmeti, has he broken through here? Mehmeti across, Hall! 2-0!
I think it's just the trust with the coaching staff. Coach Michael, he's done a great job with us during preseason and putting trust in me to start the first couple games. It's a lot of credit to him for putting his belief in me. Obviously, I have to go out there and perform to the best of my ability, and thankfully I've got a couple goals so far. The goal is to keep progressing throughout the season.
Talent and work ethic have helped Julian's dreams come true faster than even he could have predicted.
I've always dreamt of becoming a professional soccer player, but I never really expected it to happen so fast, to be honest. Earlier that year, I was still just playing academy, and I was progressing well, but I never thought it would lead to signing a contract later that year. So it's kind of a lesson there just to be ready for anything, and anything can happen very, very quickly. You really just have to put your all into whatever you're doing, and things can happen. I think a big thing is just self-belief, because when I was playing in MLS Next, I was signing a contract later that season. I had no idea. I did not have a plan on signing that year. That was not in my plan at all. I think things like that can come from just you doing as much as you can, and things will just happen by itself, as long as you're working hard and giving 100% every single day, good things will happen. And thankfully things came to me that year, and you got to be grateful, and you got to use it as much as you can to your abilities.
We return here to Truist Point in High Point, North Carolina, where Carolina Core are down 2-0 to Atlanta United 2. It's been a very eventful game, a lot of action on both ends of the pitch, as there have been 2 goals that have counted and 3 that have not. We take a look at how they got to this point through the first 45 minutes of play. But before we do that, we take a quick look around the entirety of MLS Next Pro. You have a lot of titans within this league, and a lot of guys who are really trying to establish their footing, especially with that Red Bull New York 2 and Columbus Crew 2 side, 2 of the top 4 teams in the Eastern Conference. 2 teams that Atlanta might have potential to jump at some point in the future. Same goes for Philly Union 2, having their 2-1 win against CT United. If Atlanta can secure the win and finish things off, they will jump both Crew and Union. 2 more games on the docket today. Chattanooga and Huntsville should be kicking off just about any moment from now. And then you have North Texas and Austin, a Western Conference clash. And you can expect us and our crew to be in Utah with Real Monarchs and Timbers 2 in the Western Conference play. Columbus Crew look to stay within the top 3 of the East with Inter Miami. Well, that's a quick look at how things are going on around the entirety of MLS Next Pro. But let's go back to where we are right here at Truist Point. Things started off early on with Rambolt feeding things through, but Tatavin was thwarted by Ransom and got the ball across the goal line, but no one was available to finish it off. Tatavin, the catalyst of the offense again, fanning it out towards Montenegro, but Ransom read the play well to be aggressive in his net. This was the first goal that did count. A beautiful slide in front from Arif Kovac to set up Dunbar alone in front. And this was another opportunity for Daniel Chica on the header to potentially score against his former team, his former home venue, but it was cleared off the line by Nicholas Holiday. And Chong Quig had another attempt. He centered it. Yepes got a nick, but not enough to prevent Dunbar from slamming in a second. And that's where we stand through 45 minutes of play. It's 2-0 at High Point. Atlanta United 2 have the lead as we still await the start of the second half.
Let's give it up for Leon. All right, and last and of course not least, Mark. Let's hear it from Mark.
Should be a fun season of MLS Next Pro. Oh my! Pedrinho wins it!
The unique energy of a Sunday night. Ideal for calm music, whispers, stargazing, reflection, and a relaxed environment. Sunday nights were made for this.
We return to Truist Point in High Point, North Carolina, where the Core are still looking for their first win in regulation. But Atlanta have been the ones in control of the train that has been this game. 5 total goals have technically been scored, but only 2 have counted, with a pair of offsides and a foul offsetting Atlanta's potential lead, growing even furthermore. But with Atlanta, they already could be in form like they've been last 2 games. 2 combined shutout wins by a total of a 5-0 goal differential amongst those 2 games, already having washed away the 2 games prior where they were the ones who got shut out for 2 consecutive games by a 5-0 goal differential. For Carolina Core, it's about how can you build and get better from this point out. They haven't won a game in regulation in 12. They won their first game in any fashion in the last 10. That dates back to last year as well. And when you take down one of the giants of the Eastern Conference in Crown Legacy and take them all the way to PKs, there most certainly is opportunity and reasons for optimism. However, Carolina have been unable to capitalize because of the stellar play, especially from the man between the pipes in yellow for Atlanta, Jonathan Ransom. Even though Ransom has only had to make a singular save, you could probably add his overall defensive contributions because he snuffed out most of Carolina's chances also before they can even build up, especially on the crosses, where he has won almost every jump ball coming his way. Not just because of a 5'11" frame, but also just the wherewithal and the experience, whether it was his time with the Canadian Youth International team, or even with his 3 seasons with Atlanta. But didn't really get a chance to show what his value was until last season, where he signed the second team contract with Atlanta and has made himself the #1, essentially, with the 5 stripes. We reverse sides for the second half. It'll be Atlanta in the black and red from left to right. In the light gray and green will be Carolina from right to left. We get ready to go for the second half in Truist Point. Carolina Core and Atlanta United are back in business as Ryan Lee and our entire MLS Next Pro crew. Thank you for joining us in match week 9 of Next Pro action. Carolina coming in, one of 2 teams in the East without a win in regulation. For Atlanta, top 5 in the Eastern Conference. And they look to continue to escalate the standings. Step by step, a win would launch Atlanta above both Philly and Columbus for a potential top 3 slot. Here comes Ramboll sliding across. Diaz slams the brakes, keeps it in play, cleared out with some extra assistance. Kovac strips it away. Waited to get away from Diakite, who checks into the game right at the half. It is Mohamed Diakite, the 29-year-old from the Ivory Coast. Yet to play in MLS Next Pro before he came to the Core in September of last year. Line drive, looking to open up Tatavan. Swarmed by Black. Kaiser to center. Leaned up top and saved by Ransom. What a stop by Ransom to deny Tim Zagers. And Carolina have their first corner of the match. This was a great opportunity. It was a nice feed from Kaiser, blocked away, but Zagers able to control it, get a lane with a quick sidestep, and let it fly. But Ransom with 2 spectacular saves on the only 2 shots on target for Carolina as they get their first corner of the match. For reference, Atlanta had 3 in that first half. We've seen a lot of extracurriculars in the box, especially from Atlanta. This was actually the side where Atlanta had all their 3 corners in the first half, including a header from Chica that got cleared off the line, and a headed goal which was called back due to a foul. Served in, back post, no one in green can get it. And Gill goes down to ground and earns the whistle. Ransom speeding things up, too short for Kovac. So 2 changes made by Donovan Ricketts right at the halftime mark. You have Olenga and Montenegro, who will take a seat, with Mohamed Diakite and Anthony Sumo entering. Clearly some attacking related help with Sumo in the mix, and we'll see how potentially things could change. But Anthony Sumo, a very large frame, often occupies that right side of the formation for Donovan Ricketts. Second season with the Core. He actually ended the year in 2025 on a heater with 3 goal contributions in the final 2 months. Kovac turns around, offside again, or Atlanta. And Mohamed Diakite, before this season in MLS Next Pro, hadn't played in a pro match in any division since March of 2022 before this year, especially since he was in and out of various lineups due to lingering knee issues. But Diakite has found himself in 5 games this year with the core. And Diakite lost it towards Chica. Dunbar upward, Kovac. Torres. The open space only for Suarez. Sent across, headed down, saved by Holiday. Rebounds loose, but well over. We haven't seen a lot of these from Atlanta all game yet, where they have those opportunities, those loose balls. They've been able to capitalize them to at the very least get them on frame, or at the very least opening up space for everyone else. That was probably the first shot that really went awry for Atlanta. As Sumo starts the attack for Carolina, and Ransom has to pursue before Ramboll gets a touch. Sumo using that frame to slither by Atlanta's D. Opened it up for Tartsevan and for Ramboll, but nothing got past Jonathan Ransom. And we have a quick stoppage as Ignacio Suarez recollects himself after getting dragged down from David Diaz. Suarez, one of the many academy products on this team, has not really been considered one of the key cogs in this offense or really one of those big-time starters, but has really gotten himself into these starting positions, especially in the last couple of games. Today is his 3rd start for Suarez, who's been with Atlanta's academy team since 2020. And all the bodies hit the floor. Yellow card will be given towards
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention please. A yellow card has
Carolina.
been issued by the referee to Carolina Court FC number 7, Tim Zegers, in the 53rd.
So it's Tim Zegers who gets the booking. We're only about 8 minutes into the half. Torres wanted to take it back from Diakite, unable to. Keep in mind, this game could have blown open way quicker than it did.
A yellow card has been issued by the referee to Atlanta United number 64, Mohamed Sisset, in the 54th minute.
So also within that sequence, a yellow card was given out for Mosi Say. That's the first time that he's joined the book this year for the former Olympian. He was on Mali's 2024 Paris Olympic roster back when he was still a student at Penn State. He had some issues going into the year with visa requirements as the cross from Kaisel blocked away Chica got in there. And Diakite will keep the ball rolling for Atlanta. Diakite sliding through the center circle. Chica intervenes before Tatsevin could do any more damage. Dunbar has already done double damage. Chongqui on the wing. Off a body. Dunbar around. Torres returns. Taken down to ground. Chongqui, Suarez, they're all reaching. Suarez escaping. Taken down the box. No penalty. Chongqui follows up. Chongqui, two bodies on him. Sumo misplayed, return to Atlanta. And that's something we've seen all throughout the game so far. Just when it looks like Carolina maybe have found some steam, they sometimes can't get out of their own way. Some of the observations made by Donovan Ricketts. Jose Silva's group, aggressive as always. Dovolo down the line. Won it back. Torres taken down. Suarez follows. Can't get by the gang of green. Dunbar follows up. Swirls away from pressure. Dunbar down the end line. In tight. Couldn't get a ricochet. And it goes wide for a Holiday goal kick. Cameron Dunbar has been a man possessed in this game, looking to really take things over. You had Kovac in a jumble up inside of the 6, but unable to get it through. And a quick counter for Sumo. Gets a shot and scores! Sumo strikes back for Carolina. They're on the board, and they're within one. This was a real opportunity for Carolina on the counter, and it's the first time they've had to make Jonathan Ransom sweat this one out. Sumo fresh off the bench, only about a dozen minutes into the half. And Sumo gets on the board for a core team that have been dismal in the attack. In the 30-team field going into today, they have the 6th fewest goals with 9 across their 7 matches. However, Carolina might have a counterpunch with Cam Dunbar. Slides it. Dovolo blocked in front. Dunbar again. Kovac twirls. Couldn't find it. Chongqui denied. It hit the back of Nelson Martinez, so it's the 4th corner for Atlanta. The last 2 in the first half did not go their way. They had a goal called back due to a foul in the scrum. And you also had a perfectly executed header that was just beaten by an even better save from Nick Holiday. Dunbar takes his place for the 4th time. Dunbar on a brace, could serve up another goal. Dunbar curls it, header too high, doesn't matter, whistle down. And depending on who that is, there might be some questions to make note of. It looked like, still hard to see who that was, but when you have your 2 center backs on yellow cards, especially 2 large frames in Cisse and Sananu, who have been largely the aggressors on those corners, It really forces Atlanta to tread lightly. They haven't had a send-off yet. They've been rolling. That's their first goal allowed since February 3rd. Dovolo settles it down. Avoids the pressure. Heaving, Sananu and Cisse got back. That counter punch goal by Anthony Sumo was the first one they've allowed in over 3 total match minutes. Here comes Kaiser, near side, off a Chica for seemingly a corner. 288 total shutout minutes for Atlanta snapped by Sumo. That's a combined over 3 games worth of minutes. Short again, Tatavin around for Ransom in the hands. It's Sumo from Diaz, which will be the accreditation of the goal. Center circle, Dunbar. Revs up. Outside. Chongqui. And that was a quick hold by Holiday as Kovac was pursuing. Suarez had to be careful. You had pressure all over. And it's a lot of what Carolina has been trying to look for. Just trying to continue progression as Chongqui and Yepes had to hold things up. As a proud sponsor of Carolina Core, Duderman Law Group knows the value of teamwork. And with the Duderman team behind you, you'll have the power to win the injury compensation you deserve. Duderman Law Group, passion for justice, the experience to win. But Donovan Ricketts is talking about overall how the team's chemistry and fitness are still developing as the season goes along. How the team will just change organically with time progressing. Dovolo. Held back to Gill. Atlanta inching their way up along that far sideline. Chongqui escapes. Kovac twirls, but he had Evers all over for a long throw. Chucked in, headed from Sumo. Chongqui gallops for it. Dunbar's there, and he'll stay with him. Into the box, still loose, punched out by Kaiser. Chica keeps it alive. Gill coughs it up, and a potential rush thwarted by Chica. What a slide for Daniel Chica as he prevented what could have been a 4-on-2 for Carolina. Daniel Chica against his former team had the game-winning goal to get Atlanta the 2-1 win back in match week 2. Just short for Kovac, punched away by the defensive tandem of Evers and Yepes. Dovolo, a 3-time All-SoCon when he was with UNC Greensboro. As it slid to one of his former teammates, Tatovin. Sumo tries again. Couldn't get past the barricade in black. And this will be retreated towards Nicholas Holiday. Dovolo, a 3-time member of the All-SoCon All-Conference team during his tenure with UNC Greensboro. His first pro season with Atlanta United 2 after finishing his college career as a first-team All-SoCon with 18 goal contributions in 23 matches, where he had a goal earlier in the year against Huntsville and just notched his first assist earlier today. Gill. He was getting compressed. Torres replies. Flicks it out. Dovolo. Chica commands traffic. Gill around his defender. Still has Dovolo. Frees up space. Dovolo couldn't get it. Chong Kui into the mix. And held on by Holiday very easily. And that simply goes keeper to keeper. We're about 20 minutes into the second half. Atlanta had a 2-0 lead, but Carolina were able to find a counter punch. Here's Cameron Dunbar. Dunbar hesitates, wants help. Dovolo. And the cross from Suarez spun away from Kovac. But Torres able to win it back. Chica sideways for Dovolo. Diaz came late, and he and Kaiser did enough to jar it free. It started off at the 27th minute. Cam Dunbar from Kovac and Dovolo. And then at halftime, as we're about to get a sub here from Atlanta. So Kovac is out. He got an assist, as aforementioned, on the first goal. And he will be replaced by Liam Butts, formerly of the New England Revolution program, where he was exceptional with them a season ago, but has not played since the beginning of the month in Crown Legacy. Missed the last trio of games, but Butts is back in action, sustaining a thigh injury was Butts. But earlier this year, midway through March in a game versus Huntsville, he got a brace which included his 20th goal in MLS Next Pro. And Kovac had a pretty strong performance, all things considered. But Atlanta is still trying to find ways to bring these guys up. We saw some of those opportunities in the Open Cup in their recent match where Atlanta beat Charlotte in the round of 16. We saw some of the former Atlanta 2 products really shine. Will Riley amongst one of them. Will Riley's, Cooper Sanchez, a lot of the Atlanta 2 players have really stood out. So a quick little change up. A bit of an interesting one. You have a forward for Nathan Brown, who's listed as a right back, but maybe a chance to try to find a new wrinkle. So it's a chance for Brown to come in. And we also have the free kick still to go, as we have 20 minutes remaining in regulation. Not there. Follow up from Brown. Trickle, Sumo got a deflection, but Ransom read it well. Atlanta still trying to go deep. However, Butts gets a foul against them. High Point University is the premier life skills university, attracting students from all 50 states and 50 countries. Discover why families are flocking to HPU at www.highpoint.edu. Unsuccessfully leading the way for Tatovan. It doesn't really help maybe what Carolina has been going through, considering that they also had a really more or less struggling finish to last year, kind of limped into the playoffs as the number 8 seed. Ended with 2 losses and 2 draws in the final 4 matches, but still managed to get just enough points to edge out Atlanta by a single point. Which kind of has to be mentioned anytime these two play against each other, because of how much that 1 point really swung the overall trajectories of both clubs. A group that Donovan Ricketts says is looking to take the next step within their progression within the league. How last year it was about making the playoffs after getting their feet wet in year 1 in 2024. And they went from going into the playoffs as the number 8 seed, as Moises Tablante makes his entry into the game. So Enzo Dovolo, the number 12 overall draft pick, he hits the bench for Moises Tablante. Lots of experience in Next Pro, closing in on 100 games. Today's 98 for him. John Kui around his defender, sliding by and cleared out by Diakite. So Enzo Dovolo replaced by Moises Tablante.
Substitution for Carolina Core FC, presented by Blue Rock Pizza and Tap. Entering the match, number 14, Khalid Balogun. Leading the match is number 20, Thomas Rainbow.
Sent towards goal, well high, unimpeded. So Thomas Rambolt will take a seat. We're going back-to-back subs here. Just as one guy goes off, so does the next. Final 15 minutes, and we'll see the entry of Khalid Balogun. Formerly of Lexington and Miami FC of the USL Championship. Nathan Brown wiggles through the defense, out of play for a Carolina corner. Third corner of the match for Carolina. Tatavin. High back post, too much so for Diakite. And Diakite is no small frame, 6'4", 165. Not really a whole lot of weather to deal with in today's game. A pretty calm 57 degrees, no chance of precipitation, and minimal wind. Or really negligible wind. Glances off of Suarez, butts in pursuit with fresh legs, but couldn't get around. Evers got the read. Tatavin slams it. You have a potential breakaway. Balogun! Takedown in the area. Balogun's shot is wide. However, it will draw a corner for Carolina, as this is a great defensive recovery by Matt Sananu. He got a poke on the ball without impeding the foot. Already on the yellow card, so prevents the red, prevents the goal, but does give Carolina a corner, as we're now matched at 4 side. Oh no, they reverted the call. They're calling this a ransom goal kick. That draws the absolute ire of the Foxes faithful. And if we caught that correctly, there's also a yellow card on the field. So it's a bench yellow and a Khalid Balogun yellow within about 60 seconds of each other. Balogun's only been in the match for about 2.5 minutes, and he already gets a yellow. But also had a very dangerous opportunity on a partial break as bodies collide at center. Yellow card seemingly comes out of the pocket, and that'll go for Aiden Torres. The former USA Youth International at the U16, 17, and 18 level. He'll go into the book. Our officiating crew in the blue: Ladi Asaka, Colin Ashley, Marcos Moss, and Kevin Broadley. Trying to direct traffic in today's game. There's been some wild sequences in these games, especially when it pertains to yellow cards. You can't forget that sequence in the first half. As we have another confusing situation where it just seems like perhaps a miscommunication issue. But there was that sequence in the first half. You had an offensive rush. which was a really nice one created by Atlanta that resulted in a very close Holiday save as he watches that one go over his head. Chung Kui also joins the book. And then on the ensuing corner, you had a goal that was disallowed because of a foul in the box, and then you had some taunting and not so sportsmanlike behavior that drew a yellow card right after. That was all right around the 40-minute mark. Adrian Gill with room, steps on it, couldn't recover it. Dunbar lost his footing, Gill lost possession. Balogun coughs it up. Chung Kui with help from Dunbar. Moises Tablante getting some of his first touches since coming into the game about 6 minutes ago. Around, back to Dunbar. Carolina Core looking for the first win of the year. Have not done so in regulation in 12 games. Leading the way for Liam Butts are Atlanta, who are 4-2-1, fifth place in the East. If they win, they can jump into the top three. Slides it out to Blante. On Kaiser, to Blante, to center. Couldn't get past Evers. Deep ball, held back. Balogun. And only one of the vicinities, Chung Kui and Ransom. And what an opportunity this could be for Atlanta. Considering last year, they were no higher than 8th at any point throughout the season last year. They were 7th in week 2, but anything in the first month is so variable due to just lack of sample size. What a bounce it comes. Ignacio Suarez overcooks it. Tablante has been getting the most of Kaiser on this near side for the most part. Ignacio Suarez perhaps a little too anxious to get his first goal in the regular season for 2026, coming off of a 2-assist performance last time out against Chicago Fire. CIBC is the official wealth management partner of Carolina Core FC. And we have more changes on the way for Carolina. They have a complete overhaul of their offense since they started. They started with Diaz, Tatavin, and Rambolt, and they have completely changed it up to Brown, Aguirre, and Balogun. Robinson Aguirre, the one checking in, the 21-year-old. Formerly with the Colorado Rapids.
Carolina Core FC, presented by Blue Rock Pizza and Tap. Entering the match, number 23, Robinson Aguirre. Leaving the match, number 26, Arnau Tatame. That's number 23, Robinson Aguirre, from number 26, Arnau Tatame. In the 83rd minute, presented by Blue Rock Pizza and Tap.
Considering that Arno Tatavin was coming off of a brace, Atlanta did about as much as they could to really manage him in this game and keep him at an arm's length throughout the entire match. And dare I say, they did so quite successfully. Sumo steps in. Sumo gets through, slides it across. Brown taken down and pounced on by Ransom. Sananu is down on the ground. He wants some assistance. The This was that last opportunity from Anthony Sumo. Well slid out towards Brown. Doesn't seem like he got any unnecessary contact on Sinanu. Perhaps a bit of the twisting nature. But Carolina have pushed back in a pretty good way so far in this half. And they have actually made this game a lot tighter than it originally started. Sinanu was checking his boot, and Ransom forced a scramble. Cisse out of the way. A nice bounce for Tablante. It couldn't make its way across towards Dunbar, but the recovery is there for Butts. And Butts seemed to have eaten some contact that could have affected that pass. We're under 5 minutes to go in regulation. Carolina climbing 2-1 after being down 2-0 at the halftime break. Anthony Sumo, the goal scorer, with the helper from David Diaz. Now up to 10 shots attempted, with 4 on target to Atlanta's 13 for 5. And that is way ahead of Sumo. On the docket for Carolina, they'll have to hit the hotels when they go to Huntsville. And that's actually going to be a midweek game. That game for Carolina Huntsville is going to be on a Thursday. This coming Thursday, to be precise. And then you have Atlanta United 2 come back home to Turner Soccer Complex, where they'll host Orlando City B before going to Huntsville themselves on a back-to-back with Huntsville and Philly. And what a daunting task that would be for Atlanta. Another set of road games. Philly Union being amongst the top of the table, but it could be a true test of who's worthy of being in the top 3 slot. Currently occupied by Philly, tied with Columbus in points with 14 apiece. Atlanta were 1 point behind both Columbus and Philly going into today, but with a potential 3 points still hanging in the balance, they would themselves jump up to third if they can take care of business, 1 point shy of Red Bull New York in number 2. But for Red Bull, they themselves play Philly. Bouncing in the box, Tablante taken down! Atlanta want a penalty, they're not getting it. Atlanta have only seen 1 penalty all year. We've seen more fouls on the offensive box than we have in the defensive box. Chica splits the D, still has it. However, he ran into the wall. That was Evers. Down the sideline, Balogun takes the free kick for Carolina. A lot of really tough battles in Next Pro on the weekend slate. As Ignacio Suarez, a valiant effort all the way around, unable to capitalize. That'll be it for him. Elan Ettinger comes in, the 17-year-old. Only 5 total appearances across 2 seasons, but he did help Atlanta's Academy U18 squad get all the way to the GA Cup semifinals last year. Martinez scoops it, still loose. Brown taken down, follow up. Zagers couldn't get anything done. Evers gets beat by Dunbar but couldn't get around as he had Diakite to deal with. However, Atlanta will hold on to the ball in the 90th. And they'll let this clock roll. The Core are back. Attempted centering feed, blocked away, throw in Carolina. Robinson Aguirre looking to make his impact felt. Deep try, back post, too high for Nate Brown.
Ladies and gentlemen, the fourth official of the
Spent last year with Southern Indiana in the UPSL and in 2024 with the Michigan Stars of Nisa. Gets his first chance to play with the pros after spending 2 years in the amateur ranks. It is Brown, the 23-year-old. We have entered stoppage time in the final gasp for Carolina. If Carolina cannot close this out, it'd be 13 consecutive games without a regulation win. Three added minutes to be expected for stoppage time. If Atlanta take care of business, they could enter the top three for the first time since the the second next pro season, 2023. They were slotted at number 2 in match week 6. That was April 30th of 2023. Tablante escapes. Still has help from Butts and Gill on the near side. And Atlanta might be content with burning clock. Or could they go for the dagger? Butts rallies around for Tablante. Too fancy. Back for Dunbar. Already on a brace. Flips it out. Chonqui. Chonqui from outside. Took a nick on its way to Holiday as he goes. Wanted to go quick, but held up by Butts. 2 minutes in of 3. Atlanta have been perfect when getting the opening goal. They got the opening 2 wins and a draw. Carolina, 3 of their 4 ties came from a goal down as they have a free kick opportunity as Balogun goes to ground. What a glorious opportunity this could be for Carolina as they get a golden opportunity on the foul. Mosi Say has been in foul trouble all game, including a yellow card. And is this the moment for Carolina? They've had trouble finishing. 5 games they've conceded first and have lost 2 of them. Back post, it's down in the scramble, inside the 6. No one's got it. Aguirre looks, Gill pokes it out, and a try from deep is deflected. Ettinger again. Zagers into the mix. We're through 3, but Carolina are still in business. Diakite had it out. Zagers ran out of time. And for the first time since 2023, Atlanta occupy a top 3 seed. A lot of what this game has been starts and ends with Cameron Dunbar leading the way. A pair of goals, and even one that didn't count. As our man of the match is presented by Adidas. Cameron Dunbar, the pair of goals opened things up in the 29th minute, and then doubled it up in first half stoppage time. Had the partial breakaway, and then had this beautiful feed from Chung Kui where he was all alone and made no mistake about it. As Dunbar got goals number 4 and 5, and he's on a heater with 4 goals in the last 3 matches. You can watch MLS Next Pro all season long at MLSNextPro.com and OneFootball. For our entire MLS Next Pro broadcast crew, my name is Ryan Lee. Atlanta are back in the top 3 as they win this one 2-1. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a great rest of your night.
This copyrighted broadcast of Major League Soccer may not be retransmitted, reproduced, or rebroadcast without the express written consent of Major League Soccer.